This unit we are going to see conjunctions such as although, though, even though, in spite of, and despite. These words always appear in PTE academic exam. So let's understand together, and then whenever you see in your exam, you are going to be able to answer the question as soon as possible, and you are going to get the correct answer straight away. So let's have a look the example situation together in the section A. Last year, Paul and Sarah had a holiday by the sea. It rained a lot, but they had a good time. So you can say, instead of but, we can say, although it rained a lot, they had a good time. Or it means it rained a lot, but they had a good time. Or we can say using in spite of or despite plus now. So we can say in spite of the rain or despite the rain, they had a good time. So you see that we can use although plus sentence or in spite of and despite plus now to mean something like but. Now let's move on to the section B. After although, like I mentioned earlier, that we use a sentence, so subject plus verb. For example, although it rained a lot, they had a good time. It rained a lot, but they had a good time. It expressed the same meaning. I didn't apply for the job, although I had the necessary qualifications. Compare. Now let's compare the meaning of although and because. For example, we went out although it was raining heavily. What does this mean? We went out even if it was raining heavily. But when we use because, what does this mean? We didn't go out because it was raining heavily. So when you use because, it means that because is equal to for the reason that. For the reason that it was raining heavily, we didn't go out. So now you see the difference between although and because. Then move on to section C. After in spite of or despite, we use a noun, a pronoun such as this, that, what, etc. Or we can use gerund or ing form. For example, in spite of the rain, we had a good time. So in spite of the rain is a noun. She wasn't well, but in spite of this, she continued working. So she wasn't well, but in spite of this is a pronoun. In spite of what I said yesterday, I still love you. What is also a pronoun. It refers to something that I said yesterday. And then I didn't apply for the job in spite of having the necessary qualifications. In spite of plus having, so in spite of plus the ing form or gerund. And then despite and in spite of are the same, but we say in spite of, but despite without of. So be very careful about this because you can see this kind of concept in the exam as well. She wasn't well, but despite this, she continued working. We don't say despite of this, we just say despite this. You can say in spite of the fact that, or we can say despite the fact that. For example, let's see the sentence. I didn't apply for the job in spite of the fact that, or despite the fact that I had the necessary qualifications. So now compare in spite of and because of. We went out in spite of the rain or despite the rain. We didn't go out because of the rain. So when we say we went out in spite of the rain or despite the rain, it expresses the sense or the meaning of surprising. But then when you see we didn't go out because of the rain, because of is the reason. Because of means something like as a result of the rain, we didn't go out. Now let's see the section D. Compare although and in spite of or despite. Although the traffic was bad, we arrived on time. We can also say, in spite of the traffic, we arrived on time. So you see here, although the traffic was bad, although plus sentence, but in spite of plus now. Another example, I couldn't sleep, although I was very tired. Or you can say, I couldn't sleep despite being very tired. So you see, although I was very tired is a sentence, despite being is verb ing. Now let's finish with the section E. Though means exactly like although. I didn't apply for the job though I had the necessary qualifications. You can replace though with although. In spoken English, we often use though at the end of a sentence. It means but. For example, the house isn't so nice. I like the garden though. So the house isn't so nice, but I like the garden of this house. Another example, I see them every day. I never spoken to them though. So it means that I see them every day, but I never spoken to them. And then even though is similar to although. Even though is similar to although, but not even alone, so be careful. Even though I was really tired, I couldn't sleep. You cannot use even I was really tired. You have to use even though or although. Now let's practice some exercises. Complete the sentences with although, in spite of, because, or because of. Let's have a look at the example. Question 1. Although it rained a lot, we had a good time. This sentence means that it rained a lot, but we had a good time anyway. Now, number 2A. All our careful plans, a lot of things went wrong. So which one you think fit in this blank? We have to use in spite of, or you can use despite as well. But if you use despite, there is no of after. In spite of all our careful plans, or despite all our careful plans, a lot of things went wrong. Now, to be, we planned everything carefully, a lot of things went wrong. So here is the sentence, we had planned everything carefully, we have to use although. So I hope that you can distinguish between 2A and 2B. 2A, you got the noun, the plans here is plural nouns, but then 2B, you got we had planned everything carefully, comma. This is the sentence that the reason why you have to choose although in this case. Now let's move on to question 3A. I went home early, dash, I was feeling unwell. So in this sentence you say that I went home early for the reason that I was feeling unwell. Then the answer should be because. You use because to say for the reason that. And then 3B, I went to work the next day, dash, I was feeling unwell. So you see the difference between 3A and 3B. 3B, you say that I went to work the next day, I was still feeling unwell. So when you express a contrast between two things, between two sentences, we have to use although. although, because on the left and on the right they contrast. Now let's have a look at the 4A. Chris only accepted the job dash the salary which was very high. So what do you think? For this blank we have to use because of. Because of. This is the noun. Because of the salary which was very high. And then let's have a look at the 4B. Sam accepted the job dash the salary which was rather low. Rather is an adverb. It means quite or a bit, expressing slight criticism. So Sam accepted the job, then we have to use in spite of or despite. In spite of or despite. Because you see the contrast between Sam accepted the job despite the salary which was low. So now let's have a look at the question 5A. Dash, there was a lot of noise. I slept quite well. You see the contrast again. There was a lot of noise, but I slept quite well. We have to use although. Although there was a lot of noise, I slept quite well. And then finish with question 5b. I couldn't get to sleep dash the noise. So you see that the noise is the reason that I couldn't get to sleep. So in this case, we have to use because of the noise. Because of the noise, I couldn't get to sleep. Now I hope that you understand the differences between although and in spite of, and differences between because and because of. We use although as in spite the fact that, and although always follow subject and verb. In spite of always followed by noun, pronoun or ing. And then we use because and because of before noun or noun phrase to say that somebody or something is the reason for something. Let's practice some more exercises. So use the words in brackets to make a sentence with though at the end. So now we have to put though at the end of the sentence. The house isn't very nice like garden, so we can say I like the garden though. So you see the contrast. The house isn't very nice, but I like the garden. Number 2, I enjoyed reading the book very long. So I enjoy reading the book. It's very long though. It's very long though. Number 3, we didn't like the food ate. So you can say we didn't like the food. We ate it though. Past tense, we ate it though. And then number 4, Laura is very nice, don't like husband. So you can say Laura is very nice, I don't like her husband though. I don't like her husband though. So that's it for this unit, although, though, even though, in spite of, and despite.